You ever wake up and realize no one's waiting on the other side of that hospital door? No wife, no friends, not even a text. That's when I knew. The pain wasn't just physical anymore. They'd already moved on. My name is Caleb Morgan, and I'm 41 years old. Before the accident, I worked as an operations supervisor for a mid-sized logistics company in Denver. I wasn't a flashy guy. I didn't have a sports car, I didn't post on Instagram, and I wasn't the loudest voice in the room. But I showed up. Every day. No sick days, no half-efforts. I was the guy they called when the delivery software glitched or when a driver got stuck in a snowstorm somewhere in Nebraska. I fixed things. Quietly. I had a wife, Rachel, who worked in HR at a tech firm. We'd been together 12 years, married for 10. And I thought we were solid. Not perfect, but solid. We had no kids. It wasn't something we ever really agreed on. I wanted them. She didn't. After the third or fourth conversation that ended in tension and silence, I let it go. She said we were enough for each other. I wanted to believe that. We had friends, or at least people we hung out with on weekends. Mostly her co-workers, a few couples from the gym, and the occasional BBQ with neighbors. I never felt fully part of the circle, but I was the nice husband who helped carry coolers and fixed their broken cabinet hinges when no one else volunteered. That was me, Caleb the dependable. And then it happened. I don't remember the actual crash. The doctor said that's normal, that the brain protects you from trauma like that. I was told I'd been driving home after working late. A semi jackknifed on black ice. I swerved. I hit the guardrail. My car flipped and slid down an embankment. They said it was a miracle I survived. But survival didn't feel like a miracle when I woke up 3 days later in a haze of pain and silence. Rachel wasn't there. I thought maybe she'd just stepped out. Maybe she'd been with me the whole time and finally went home for a shower or food. I waited. 10 minutes. 30. An hour. A nurse came in and told me she'd called once. Once. No flowers. No family photos. No, I'm staying by your side no matter what. Just nothing. When she finally came, 2 days later, she stood in the doorway like she was visiting a distant cousin. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Hey, you're awake," she said, her voice a little too cheerful. "You look okay, considering." I tried to sit up, but my ribs screamed in protest. "Where have you been?" I asked. She blinked. "I had meetings, and I figured you'd be out for a while." Meetings. I tried to brush it off. Maybe she was in shock too. Maybe she didn't know how to deal with this. But something shifted that day, and it kept shifting. My hospital stay stretched from 3 days to a week, then 2. Internal injuries, a mild concussion, fractured vertebrae. I couldn't walk without help for the first 5 days. I couldn't shower alone for 2 weeks. Rachel showed up 4 times. Always during lunch hours, always in a rush. Friends? Nowhere. Even my manager, Tom, sent 1 card. Just 1. "Wishing you a speedy recovery. Let us know when you're ready to come back." Let us know. Not, "We're here for you." Not, "We'll cover you, don't worry." Let us know. I was disposable. Every visit felt more strained. Rachel stopped bringing me updates from the outside world, stopped talking about our friends, started looking at her phone during our conversations. So I stopped asking. The day they transferred me to rehab, she didn't even come to help move my stuff. A nurse wheeled me out to the hospital's back parking lot, where an orderly loaded me into a transport van. When I asked Rachel later why she didn't come, she just said, "I didn't think you'd want a big fuss." A big fuss. I had fought to stay alive. I'd relearned how to walk. I was dealing with chronic pain, nerve spasms, and a mountain of medical bills. And she didn't want to make a fuss. That night, lying in my rehab room alone, I stared at the ceiling and let something inside me go numb. It wasn't the medication. It was that quiet, heavy feeling that tells you, you've been erased. And for the first time, I decided I wouldn't fight it. If they wanted to forget me, maybe I'd let them. Or at least, let them think I forgot too. The rehab center was 40 minutes outside the city, tucked between a rundown shopping plaza and a dry stretch of woodland that hadn't seen snowmelt in weeks. It wasn't fancy, but it was clean. The staff were polite, the kind of tired polite you only get from people who've seen a lot more broken bodies than they ever expected to in their lives. My roommate was a guy named Harold in his early 70s, recovering from a hip replacement. He was loud, half-deaf, and cursed like a mechanic, but at least he talked to me. "You're young to be in here," he said one morning as we both shuffled down the hallway with our walkers. "You screw up on a motorcycle or something?" I told him the short version. The crash, the rehabilitation, the quiet wife. He whistled through his teeth. "Yeah, people disappear fast when you can't pour your own coffee anymore." I didn't respond, but it stuck with me. I spent my mornings in physical therapy, stretching, rebalancing, strengthening muscles I didn't even know had gone dormant. The therapists were kind, but they didn't sugarcoat it. "You push today, or you lose tomorrow," one of them said. Her name was Lena, and she had arms like a CrossFit coach and the voice of someone who wasn't afraid to shout if you slacked off. I liked her. At night, I'd lie awake and think about the way Rachel used to hum when she cooked. I hadn't heard that sound in months. I wondered if she still made that mushroom risotto I loved, or if that recipe had quietly vanished along with the rest of the version of her I used to know. We talked once every 3 days, sometimes just over text. She always had an excuse: meetings, late hours, gym. She never said she missed me. Not once. One afternoon, Harold and I were playing cards in the common room when he asked me something that knocked the breath out of me. "Son, you think she's waiting for you?" I looked up. "What?" "Your wife. You think she's waiting?" I paused. "I don't know." "You do," he said, flipping over his final card. "You just don't want to say it." That night, I stared at the screen of my phone. There were messages I'd sent that she never answered. Photos of us I'd once looked at when I needed to remember why we were worth it. Now, they felt like postcards from a life that had quietly ended. 3 weeks into rehab, I stopped asking her to visit. 4 weeks in, she stopped pretending to offer. By the end of the second month, I could walk again. Not far, not fast, but without help. My body healed. Slowly. But something else hardened along the way. I stopped telling people how I was really doing. I smiled when the nurses asked how I felt. I nodded when they said, "Progress looks great." And when my discharge date finally came, I packed up my things myself. Rachel didn't come. She texted, "Good luck with everything. Let me know if you need anything moved." Moved. Not, "Welcome home." Not, "I'll pick you up." When I got home, the house was clean. Too clean. Half the photos on the walls were gone. Her things still filled the closet, but it looked emptier. Like someone preparing to leave, but not quite ready to be caught doing it. She was out when I arrived. I didn't tell her I was coming early. I didn't tell anyone. I stood in the living room for a long time, just listening to the silence. You learn a lot from silence. It tells you where the laughter used to be, where the weight of someone's presence once pressed against the air. I checked the mail. Bills. Advertisements. One letter caught my eye, a bank notice. Her name only. I didn't open it, but I knew. We were splitting before the words were ever said. She came home late that night, startled when she saw me. "Oh, you're back," she said, dropping her keys. I smiled faintly. Surprise. She didn't hug me, didn't ask how I was doing, just told me she was going to take a shower. I didn't ask where she'd been. The next few weeks passed in quiet routines. She worked, I cooked, cleaned, handled my physical therapy from home. My job? Still on hold. Tom hadn't followed up. HR said they'd circle back. They never did. I started freelancing, reviewing logistics systems remotely. Nothing fancy, but it paid. Quiet money, clean work. I didn't tell Rachel. Something in me had shifted permanently. I realized I didn't owe her explanations anymore, or anyone else for that matter. They'd all moved on without me. Now it was my turn. It was Harold, of all people, who gave me the push. He called me one morning from rehab. "You up?" "Barely," I said. "I was thinking about what you said, about feeling erased. You ever consider leaning into it?" "What do you mean?" "I mean, if they already think you're not the same, maybe you don't have to be." That stuck. So I started keeping records, quietly. I reviewed our finances, passwords, credit reports. I wasn't snooping, I was protecting myself. And what I found? Rachel had taken out a separate credit card, trips charged to cities I'd never been, restaurants she said were girls' nights, and one hotel reservation, under her name and someone named Eric K. I didn't react. I copied everything, printed what I needed, saved what I couldn't prove yet. I wasn't angry. I was done. And when I tell you what I did next, you'll understand why I didn't tell anyone I was back. Because when people forget you, when they assume you're broken, they stop watching. And when no one's watching, you can rebuild anything, even yourself. The confrontation, when it finally came, wasn't dramatic. Rachel came home late again. Different perfume, different energy. She was humming, the same soft tune she used to make when she cooked for us. But she hadn't cooked in months. She dropped her purse on the counter and gave me a glance like she was surprised I still lived there. "You're still up?" "Couldn't sleep," I said. I closed the laptop and looked at her calmly. "Can we talk?" She sighed, slowly, like I'd just asked her to do dishes after a 12-hour flight. "Sure, Caleb. What's this about?" I slid the stack of printed bank statements across the table. Credit cards, hotel invoices, the booking under Eric K. She didn't touch them. She just stared at the top page, then said the most unexpected thing. "I didn't think you'd look." That was it. No denial, no gaslighting, just resignation. I nodded slowly. "I figured you were gone a long time ago. This just made it easier to accept." She looked tired suddenly. Not sad, just drained. "I'm sorry," she said. "I really am." "I believe you," I said, and I meant it. "But I'm done pretending this still works." Silence. Then, "So what now?" "I'd like you to move out by the end of the month. I'll stay with a friend for a few days so you can pack what you need." She blinked. "You're not throwing me out?" I looked at her. The woman I thought would grow old with me, now standing like a stranger in her own kitchen. "I'm letting you go, Rachel. That's all." I called Harold the next morning. "She gone?" "Packing." "Good," he grunted. "You did it the right way. Clean, quiet, no fireworks. They expect fireworks. When you don't give them that, they don't know where to aim their guilt." I stayed at a small rental cabin just outside Boulder for a few days while she moved. It was peaceful. The kind of silence I didn't resent. Just wind, trees, and the sound of my own breath. I journaled for the first time in years. Not about her, about me, about what I wanted to rebuild, who I wanted to be now that nobody was watching. When I came back, the house was cold and half empty, but it was mine again. She left a note on the kitchen table. "I hope you find what you're looking for. Rachel." I folded it once and placed it in the trash. Then I opened my laptop and got to work. The next few months were steady. I rebuilt my body, walking longer, biking carefully, swimming in the mornings. I rebuilt my mind, therapy once a week. Best decision I made in years. And I rebuilt my career, one freelance contract at a time. By month 3, I was working with 2 logistics startups remotely. One of them eventually offered me a consulting role, higher pay, no office politics, full autonomy. I took it. I didn't tell anyone. I changed my number. I deleted old contacts. I scrubbed social media. Let them think I'd vanished. Let them think I forgot them too. One afternoon, I got a message from Tom, my old boss. "Hey Caleb, you around? We're doing a systems overhaul. Could use your brain on this if you're free." It took me a full 5 minutes to decide what to reply. Then I typed, "Sounds interesting. Send details." I didn't owe him a yes, but I wanted something else. Closure, maybe. Or perspective. He sent me the meeting link. I logged in anonymously. No camera, just initials. And guess who else was on the call? Eric K., same guy from the hotel reservation. Apparently, he'd been hired as a senior consultant at my old company after I left. And now, he was the one fumbling through a systems audit I'd written 2 years ago. It was poetry. Tom said, "We're not sure why the whole Eastern Division's delivery metrics are off. Caleb, anything stand out to you?" I waited 2 seconds, then said flatly, "Yeah, you've been using the wrong freight coefficient for bulk loads, and your batch parser's still stuck on the old V2 schema. That'll cost you about 12% in lost optimization across Q3 unless you fix it." Silence. Eric mumbled something about needing to verify the codebase. I smiled and ended the call 15 minutes later. Tom emailed me after, "Still the sharpest guy we ever had. Ever think about coming back full-time?" I replied, "Appreciate the note. I'm good where I am." And that was it. People started reaching out again. Slowly, like they were testing the waters. Texts from friends I hadn't heard from since rehab. Old neighbors asking if I wanted to come to the next cookout. Even Rachel sent a polite birthday message. "Hope you're doing well." I didn't respond to any of them, not out of bitterness, but because I no longer needed to. They'd already shown me who they were when I was on my back, and I'd already made peace with who I'd become when I got back up. I didn't plan to see anyone from my old life again, but life doesn't always wait for you to give permission. It started with a grocery store aisle. I was picking out coffee, something bold, nothing fancy, when I heard my name, soft, hesitant, like a question wrapped in nostalgia. "Caleb?" I turned. It was Mark Dorsey, one of those friend-adjacent people from our old social group. He used to bring craft beer to every party and talk about stocks like he had insider info, even though he worked in marketing. He looked older, puffier around the eyes, wearing a Patagonia vest like it was armor. But his voice was the same fake casual. "Wow, man. I haven't seen you in, what, a year?" "Closer to 2, I said. He laughed like he hadn't ghosted me after the accident. Yeah, time flies." "Hey, I heard about everything. The crash. Rehab. That must have been intense." I nodded. He scratched the back of his neck. "We all wanted to visit, you know. Just didn't know if it was okay. Rachel didn't really keep us in the loop." I said nothing. He shifted. "So, how've you been? You look good, man. Real good." I looked him in the eye. Calm. Steady. "I've been doing the best I ever have." That caught him off guard. He tried to smile. "Well, hey, we're having a little get-together this weekend. Some of the old crew. You should come by. Reconnect." I paused, then asked, "Will Eric be there?" He blinked. "Eric K? Yeah, probably. Why?" I shrugged. "Just curious." He gave a quick laugh. "Water under the bridge, right?" I smiled faintly. "Maybe for you." Then I picked my coffee, nodded politely, and walked away. That night, I sat in my kitchen with the lights low, drinking black coffee and thinking about all the invitations that never came when I needed them. And now, when I didn't need anything, they were everywhere. I wasn't angry. I was just done pretending to be part of a system that only worked when I was useful to them. But a thought came to me then. What if I went? Not to be dramatic, not for revenge, but just to walk in, whole. Let them see what they left behind and what I became without them. So I went. Simple clothes, calm face, a bottle of wine I didn't plan to open. The party was at Stephanie's house, one of Rachel's old friends. Mid-sized place, open layout, way too many throw pillows. As soon as I walked in, heads turned, double takes, half smiles, uneasy eyes. Caleb? Dude, look at you. Man, you look different. I did, because I was. Rachel wasn't there, but Eric was. He saw me from across the room and gave me the kind of awkward nod that said, "Please don't make a scene." I didn't. I sipped my water, listened to conversations, politely dodged small talk. At some point, Stephanie cornered me in the kitchen. "Hey, I just want to say, I'm sorry for how things went. We didn't know how to be there." I appreciated the honesty. "It's okay," I said. "Most people don't." She looked down. "Rachel said you were cold, distant, that you stopped talking." I raised an eyebrow. "Is that what she told everyone?" She didn't answer. Didn't need to. I let the silence linger. Then I said, "You know, I spent weeks in that hospital bed waiting for someone to visit. Anyone. Just one familiar face. Instead, I learned how alone a person can feel while still technically alive." Her eyes filled a little. "I didn't know." I nodded. "Now you do." And I walked away. Later that night, as I drove home, I realized something strange. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel wounded. I felt clear, like all the fog had lifted, and I could finally see the lines that had always been there. Who stayed, who left, who waited for me to stand again, and who never looked back. A few days later, I got a message from Rachel. It was longer this time. "I saw you were at Stephanie's. They said you looked well. I don't know what to say, Caleb. I think about you a lot. I hope we can talk sometime. Not about the past. Just maybe who we are now." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it. I wasn't angry. I wasn't bitter. I just had nothing left to give her. Or them. They had their chance, and they forgot me. So I let them live with that, while I moved forward, quiet, strong, and seen, finally, by the one person who never gave up on me. Me. Spring came slowly that year. I started spending more time outdoors, mornings on the porch with black coffee, afternoons walking the old trail behind the park, where the trees still carried that soft pine scent from childhood. I didn't post about it, didn't tell anyone. It was mine. The silence that once felt like abandonment now felt like peace. One day, at the library of all places, I ran into someone I hadn't expected, Lena, my old physical therapist. She was browsing near the nonfiction section, hair pulled back, reading glasses tucked low on her nose. "Caleb?" she asked, smiling warmly. "Didn't expect to see you in the wild?" I laughed, trying to relearn what leisure feels like. She grinned. "You look strong, like you never missed a step." "Missed a lot, actually," I said. "Just stopped limping because of it." She nodded slowly, sensing more behind my words. "You good?" "I am now." We talked for a while. About books, small towns, injuries, both the visible and the kind you don't talk about. And before we parted ways, she said something I didn't know I needed to hear. "You know," she said, "some people break and stay broken. Others build something stronger from the cracks. You rebuilt with steel." That night, I slept better than I had in a year. My work picked up. Word of mouth grew. A small firm in Chicago offered me a long-term consulting contract. Remote, flexible, high pay. I took it. I moved out of the house Rachel and I had shared, sold it quietly, no drama, no notice. I bought a cabin near the edge of town, with a view of the hills and no neighbors close enough to knock. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't need to. I never answered Rachel's last message. She sent one more a few weeks later. "I get it now. I think I always knew you deserved more. I just wasn't the one to give it to you. I hope someone better finds you." I didn't reply, because I had found someone better. Not a lover, not a savior, just me, whole, alive, unapologetically awake to the fact that sometimes forgetting is a gift, because it frees you from having to carry the weight of people who were never built to stay. 1 year later, I drove past the spot on the highway where my car had gone over the embankment. The guardrail was still bent. Grass had grown back, but the earth still looked a little darker there. I pulled over, got out, stood in the wind, and just listened. And I said out loud, to no one, "Thank you." Not to the accident, not to the pain, but to the silence that followed. Because it was in that silence that I heard my own voice again. And it didn't sound broken. It sounded free. They forgot me after the accident, and I let them. Because sometimes being forgotten is how you finally remember who you are. And once I did, I never looked back.